the first thing they found is criticism, excessive criticism. So everybody criticize your partner, that's not a problem, but there should be an element of praise. So there's more praise than criticism in healthy couples. So they always praise them, they always say good things, and then there's the odd criticism. Whereas with those that are bound to break up, there is an excessive amount of criticism, things that don't even need to be a criticism. So it could be something like you left your shoes out, and instead of saying like, oh, you left your shoes out, you'd be like, you're so messy, you're always ruining everything. It becomes a criticism, a personal one. Second thing is contempt. What they mean by that is they build resentment. They start to almost like make fun of each other, and they start to hate each other. Like there's an element of dislike. So there's a resentment, a lot of resentment. The other thing is getting really defensive. When your partner tells you to any kind of feedback, you just get defensive and you start arguing, you bring up everything. And the final thing is stonewalling, when you go silent and you give the silent treatment for hours and hours or days and days, but you don't come back with the resolution. You just come back just as angry. Which one do you do? Any of those?
It's also childish. No.
Do you do any of them?
So what are the most common things that you come across in relationships, the issues?
I would say Dubai is very specific. So what I find in Dubai, the main issue that I find with men in Dubai that they have with their wives and their misses is that, you know, the normal loving things that would be really valuable in like England, where I'm from, in London, is things like she'd be looking after the kids, cooking for you, cleaning for you. When they come here, they have a maid, so cooking, cleaning, looking after the kid is all sorted. And then what happens is that they're left with just me and you. What do me and you have in common? What do me and you bring to the table? And they start to realize there isn't much there. So they end up then seeking more externally, because and that's what I find. And it's what from my practice, what I found a bit is what happens, and as a result they start seeking somebody who's more on their level, is what they would say out here, because everybody is quite driven and like focused and so on and so forth, and that leads to a bit of straying. From the female perspective, what happens there is there's a lifestyle to be kept out here. A lot of people want that lifestyle, and so all it takes is seeing, if you're that type of person, is seeing other women live a certain life, and you change what you're looking for in a partner. It goes from somebody that you're really connected to and really love to somebody who can give you a good life, and both of those factors lead to a decline in relationships.
I know 5 or 6 relationship experts, and they're all single. I'm like, how can this be?
Why are most therapists single?
Yeah.
Do you know what I would imagine why most of them are single? I don't think a lot of them are. I think some of them can be. Is that only when you are so aware of your own trauma do you then pursue psychology? Like even when I'm teaching psychology, I've been teaching psychology for many years, and I would notice that, like, I would go into the classroom, and the teenagers that I would get would be all these really anxious or stressed out, insecure kind of kids, and you'd get the odd like bunch of boys that just want to, you know, a bit of banter, but the majority would be very timid, very insecure girls that are going through quite a lot. And I always ask them, what made you pursue psychology? And they're like, oh, because I had this problem and I keep having this problem, I keep thinking like this, and that's why I wanted to do it. So I'd imagine the same thing applies to relationship counseling and therapists, is that they recognize that there is something wrong in their ability to sustain relationships, and that triggers an interest, and that interest then turns into a qualification, which then turns into a degree, and then turns into like all of these things. So yeah, it definitely does trigger a desire to find out more about this situation.
Okay, but
it's a bit like how fat people become PTs.
They should.
Were you ever a fat person when you were growing up? Tell the truth.
Definitely not. I was shredded. I was a 4-year-old with like an 8-pack walking in the thing.
You know, there are like, you know, you get these people that used to be really overweight, and then they become slim, and then they become like have a 6-pack and stuff,
then
and
they
then
become slim
PT.
and become trainers.
But they still tend to have an unhealthy relationship with food.
Yeah, but what I mean is, once you have all the keys, and you have all the answers, quote unquote, why don't any of these people apply it to their own lives? Because I'd like to think that if I have someone who's coming to fix my car, they arrive in a car.
They can drive.
Do you know what I mean? Or they can drive. They have a license. But
because just like a doctor doesn't have to have cancer to cure you, you know, like it's one of those things that you can have the knowledge, but the application really depends on the level of trauma that you've experienced. And sometimes the trauma you've experienced is so excessive that you may not be able to heal yourself, but you can still use that knowledge to heal those around you. So I would see it as more just as like a surgeon who's never had a surgery, like, you know, it's one of those things, they still have the knowledge, and I don't think it detracts from their qualification. But I get what you mean. Like, why aren't you like married, kids, all that stuff?
And all of them, like literally all of them that I know are single.
But you know, there are some, the biggest psychologists in the area, like who've done the most research, were two divorced people that found each other. Then they studied relationships, and they've done the most scientific study of relationships, and they managed to, through their research, keep their marriage alive. It's because of what they learned from what they saw, and they were able to predict if a couple breaks up within just 30 seconds of watching them fight.
Let's talk about what kind of things
predict a breakup.
Yeah.
They found that there's only 4 things that predict a breakup.
This is in their scientific. This is in couples or marriages.
So
not in normal relationships, like with dating.
Dating, anything can break them up. Whereas in marriages, it's a lot more rigmarole try and break up. So it takes something a little bit more significant. But the first thing they found is criticism, excessive criticism. So everybody criticize your partner, that's not a problem, but there should be an element of praise. So there's more praise than criticism in healthy couples. So they always praise them, they always say good things, and then there's the odd criticism. Whereas with those that are bound to break up, there is an excessive amount of criticism, things that don't even need to be a criticism. So it could be something like, you left your shoes out, and instead of saying like, oh, you left your shoes out, you'd be like, you're so messy, you're always ruining everything. It becomes a criticism, a personal one. Second thing is contempt. What they mean by that is they build resentment. They start to almost like make fun of each other, and they start to hate each other. Like there's an element of dislike. So there's a resentment, a lot of resentment. The other thing is getting really defensive. When your partner tells you to any kind of feedback, you just get defensive and you start arguing, you bring up everything. And the final thing is stonewalling, when you go silent and you give the silent treatment for hours and hours or days and days, but you don't come back with the resolution. You just come back just as angry. Which one do you do? Any of those?
It's so childish. No.
Do you do any of those?
Honestly, like, and I've said this before on a podcast before.
Yeah.
I can't be asked for any of that. It's like, it doesn't make sense. Any of it doesn't make sense.
That's
like
good.
This whole kind of, and you know, I've been through this before.
Yeah.
In the 8 years that me and my wife have been together, I think we've had 2 arguments.
Wow.
Lasted about 15 minutes and then
well, are you a non-argumentative person in general?
Yeah, I can't be asked.
Okay, so then you just bring in those traits into your relationship.
Yeah, because basically, look, very young, I was very aware that I'm going to die.
Yeah.
And that was very profound to me, to the point that it dictated every decision I made in life. I think about it every day.
Yeah.
I'm aware of it every day. Not in a negative way, but in just hey, you know, I'm gonna make the best of it. You're going to die. Is this really worth it? It has been a big thing in my life, and it comes with conversations, with friendships, with everything.
You know what? That's a great way to see life, because then what that helps you do is zoom out of the situation. Because a lot of people, the reason why, there's a bigger picture. It's never that deep. I always tell, like, as simple as that, it's never that deep. So what would you say? I'll tell you what the research found, but what would you say kept you and your relationship like so smooth? Praise be to God.
Just open communication, dude.
Yeah.
Like, we communicate everything. Like, if you're feeling whatever, like, you know, sometimes if I notice she's feeling a bit whatever, I'll be like, listen, when you're ready, let me know what's going on. Aww. Is it me? No? Okay, I'm cool. Take your time. Do you know what I mean? If it's me, tell me now, let me fix it. If not, do you know what I mean? And I think a lot of people don't communicate much with each other.
But that's exactly what the research has found. What they found is the number one thing that predicts if your relationship is going to stay together. And a lot of people think it's trust, it's this, that, and the other. It's actually just what you said, is picking up on each other's emotions. So it's like, they call it bids. But all it takes is, like, say, for example, you come home from work and you're like, oh, and your partner says, what's wrong? That picking up on her emotion or your emotion, that keeps a couple together. Or it could be something like, oh, I'm starving, and then your partner, without you asking, just grabs you a snack. And it's picking up on these tiny little things. It builds trust. So when you just can sense your partner's emotion and then respond to it in a way that makes their emotion feel at least heard, if not resolved, but at least heard, that is what they found predicted if a relationship stays together. Nothing to do with income or nothing to do with date nights or anything like that. It's just daily, day-to-day things.
The simple things, right?
It's those simple things. Would you agree with that?
100%.
Yeah.
And even like things like, we have a kind of understanding where it's like even yesterday, I got a bit of news that was a bit shitty yesterday. Okay. So I called her up. I was like, listen, I got a bit of news that was a bit shitty. When I get home, talk me out of it. Oh. So I got home, sat on the bed. She was like, no. And she was telling me, no, this is that. I let her hear the news, and she broke down the message for me, kind of thing, and said, no, this means this means that. It's not a big deal, blah, blah, blah. The fact that she did that and took the time to got me out of it straight away.
But the beauty in that is more the fact that you know that you can turn to her to help kind of balance you. That's the real key, is the fact that you turn to her in those moments. A lot of people lack emotional intimacy with their partner, where when they feel an emotion, they actually go to somebody else. They might go to a friend, they might go to a parent, or whatever it is. But couples that don't cheat on each other, the key thing is that emotional intimacy. When they're feeling an emotion, their go-to is their partner, and their partner is their person that they said they're happy, sad, any news to, they're the first person. Would you say she's always the first person?
Always, with everything. Yeah, with everything.
Really?
Yeah. There's no other people I need to tell, or not need to tell, but it's like no one else's opinion matters to me.
That's amazing.
Do you know what I mean?
Welcome to my course on masculinity, and in this course, not only will I be able to completely transform your understanding of women, but on a more personal level, you will enhance your self-esteem, self-respect, and your boundaries. The goal of this course is to take a man that has absolutely fantastic intentions, wants to find love, wants to commit, wants to have a good, healthy relationship, but is finding that he's constantly running into women who are narcissistic, who are disrespectful, who are disloyal. Now, if you are finding that continuously, then there must be something in your engagement with women that is causing this. What my course will do is look at where this problem comes from, how to resolve it, how to communicate effectively with men and women, and how to command respect. Most importantly, how to improve your self-respect. And throughout the course, you'll be given interactive sessions, but with course materials to help you channel and journal your learning. So if you are interested in becoming the most masculine version of yourself, join today.